Peter Attia told me that VO2 max is the single most important metric when looking at someone's longevity. How much truth do you think's in that?
I think that absolutely he's right. And the thing I love about it is that it's something that you can measure. It's a biomarker. I think it's one of the most important things. Absolutely. There's been studies that have been done looking at people that are actually meeting the requirements for aerobic exercise per week. So it's like 2.5 hours a week. And even if they're meeting those, like doing moderate intensity exercise, there's like 40% of those people will not improve their VO2 max, like they're called non-responders. It's not really known why they don't respond, but it's thought because, you know, improvements in your cardiorespiratory fitness as measured by VO2 max, it's an adaptation. And in order to have that adaptation, like a stronger stressor will produce a little bit more of a robust adaptation. And so there's something called the Norwegian 4x4 protocol. And that's 4 minutes at the highest intensity that you can maintain for that entire 4 minutes, followed by 3-minute recovery of like light exercise. I mean, you want your heart rate to come down so that you could do it again 4 times, right? So the Norwegian
miserable.
Yes,
absolutely miserable.
The Norwegian 4x4, and you know, there was a study, and I like this is one of the studies that inspired me, and the study took 50-year-olds that were healthy, but they were not physically active. So they didn't have like type 2 diabetes and all that, but they weren't active.
They're also detrained.
Exactly, they're detrained. And they put them on a pretty intensive training protocol for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. It was a 2-year intervention, and it was a progressive protocol. So obviously when you have an untrained person, you don't just right out the bat, Norwegian 4x4, day 1. No, that's not going to happen. So it took them 6 months to kind of work up their training, right, their endurance. And by the time they got to their 6-month mark, they were doing about, 4 hours a week of what's called maximal intensity exercise. So this is vigorous. This is
4 hours a week of maximal intensity.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were basically doing, it was like as high as you can maintain, vigorous intensity workout for 30 minutes, basically. So they're doing these 30-minute workouts where you're doing like 75, 80% max heart rate for 30 minutes.
Okay.
So
they're doing that 8 times a week.
Yeah. I mean, so no, they're doing other things as well. So they're doing, it's not, when I say 4 hours a week, they're exercising 4 hours a week.
Oh,
they're
right.
also
I
doing.
thought you meant they were doing 4 hours of this Norwegian 4x4 thing.
No.
Okay.
But they were doing, a majority of that was maximal intensity exercise. So a lot of that was, they were doing like 30-minute sessions of this. Right. And I think they were probably doing like 1.5 to 2 hours of that.
Yep.
And then they were also doing some strength training. And then they were doing the Norwegian 4x4. So there was kind of a nice sort of balanced, and then the control group was doing this sort of, I say strength training, but it was more, I guess, body weight, kind of stuff. The control group was doing that. So it was a type of sort of body weight training, but it wasn't high intensity. Like it wasn't like the CrossFit kind of stuff that you could do. It was more like lower stretching kind of stuff. So as we age, our heart gets smaller and it gets stiffer. And this happens, it's like part of aging, that results in a lot of things. So cardiovascular disease risk goes up, but also like your exercise performance and capacity goes down. So after that 2 years of, doing this pretty vigorous intensity exercise protocol, the 50-year-olds, they reversed their cardiac structure aging by 20 years. So their hearts were looking more like 30-year-old hearts versus 50-year-old hearts. And this was after 2 years of doing this. And to me, it was so motivating to go, wow, these 50-year-olds can do this. Like these were untrained people who don't usually work out. And by the end of this 2 years, I mean, they were like getting at it.
So lots of benefits of improving VO2 max. Take us through the Norwegian 4x4 again, and then what else is in there? If there was a protocol or a number of protocols you were going to design, here's a program that you can take away today into your gym and do that will help to improve your VO2 max. What would you tell people?
I would say the Norwegian 4x4 is by far the best, and you're going to get for the people that are really determined and committed. That would be it. That would be the 4 minutes of the exercise intensity as hard as you can go and maintain it for that entire 4 minutes. So
Just
obviously
dig into that. What do you mean? As hard as you can go and maintain it. What does that mean?
it means you don't want to go like all out, like 95% of your max heart rate, because then you can only last for like a minute, and so then you're going to go down. You're going to slow down, right? So what it means is like you want to go, it might, for some people, it might be like 75% max heart rate, right? So some people might be 80%, but you want to go as hard as you can for the 4 minutes. Without like really slowing down. So you kind of have to pace yourself a little bit, but you don't want to go too slow, right? Like you definitely can't be talking. Like you should not be able to talk for sure when you're doing it. So it's hard enough that you just absolutely can't talk, but it's not all out. So
4 minutes.
4 minutes and then 3 minutes of totally light. Like you're going all the way. This is like, you're like back to like zone 1, if you want to call it something.
If your heart can come down.
If your heart can
quickly.
come down, yeah. And you're doing that for 3 minutes because you want to recover so that you can do it again. And you repeat it. It's a 4-time protocol. So you do it once and then you repeat it 3 times, or you just call it the 4x4. I think that's probably one of the best protocols to improve VO2 max. There's evidence that a 1 minute protocol, so like just even doing like an interval, like 1 minute interval, and then doing that like, a few times also can improve VO2 max. So that's a little easier, and also it's easier. Like I do 1 minute intervals. I'm trying to now incorporate the 4x4 into my routine, which is coaches help with that. So, but I
imagine it's a motivation thing, which is probably one of the biggest hurdles to get over. That just if you've got any program in front of you that isn't the Norwegian 4x4 for the day, you go, maybe it's back and biceps, or maybe I'll just go for a little jog. It's like mañana.
Yeah, it is. But again, like I said, you try to make it consistent. So
frequency per week.
Well, the Norwegian 4x4 would be like 1 time a week.
Oh, okay. And that's
the hard day.
That's less
the
miserable.
Hard day. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to going twice per week?
Probably, yeah.
It would have been so much better if you'd said,
but these 50-year-olds, these 50-year-olds did it 1 time a week for 2 years, and they reversed their cardiac structure aging by 20 years.